Good evening and welcome to this evening's presentation. The title is The Seal and the Mark. What is the seal of God? We read this in Revelation chapter 7 verse 3.
Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 13.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
Ephesians chapter 4 verse 30.
And grieve not the Holy Spirit of God, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption.
Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 20.
And hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am the Lord your God.
Revelation chapter 9 verse 4.
And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads.
The mark of the beast. We read about this in Revelation chapter 14 verses 9 to 11.
And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up for ever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name.
The third angel speaks about the mark of the beast. The mark is in the forehead or in the right hand. The mark, those who choose to worship the beast and his image. The mark dictated upon all who refuse God's call to come out of Babylon. In the Catechism of the Council of Trent, Donovan's translation, 1867, part 3, chapter 4, page 345. It pleased the Church of God that the religious celebration of the Sabbath day should be transferred to the Lord's Day. Question: How prove you that the Church hath power to command feasts and holy days? Answer: by the very act of changing the Sabbath into Sunday, which Protestants allow of, and therefore they fondly contradict themselves by keeping Sunday strictly and breaking most other feasts commanded by the same Church. A Doctrinal Catechism, 3rd edition, page 174. The question is, have you any other way of proving that the Church has power to institute festivals of precepts? Answer: had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the seventh day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. The Convert's Catechism of the Catholic Doctrine, 1946, page 50. Question: which is a Sabbath day? Answer: Saturday is a Sabbath day. Question: why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer: we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. The seal of God. What is the seal of God, and where would you expect to find the seal of God? It is in his law, which is written in the book of Exodus chapter 20. Firstly, we see his name, the Lord your God, found in Exodus 20 verse 10. Then we see the title of God. He is our maker or creator, Exodus 20 verse 11. And his territory, he made the heaven and the earth, the sea and the fountains of waters.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it.
So we see the first day of the week, which is Sunday, is the mark of the beast, because it doesn't have the seal of God. The 10 Commandments, the Sabbath that God has given us, has his title, has his name, and his territory. So that is going to be the seal of God that all of us will receive if we keep holy the day that God has set aside as a day of worship, which is the 7th day, the Sabbath. Each person will receive either the mark or the seal. If we receive this mark in our foreheads or in our hands, the judgments pronounced against the disobedient must fall upon us. But the seal of the living God is placed upon those who conscientiously keep the Sabbath of the Lord. This is found in Bible Commentary, Volume 7, page 980, paragraph 1 and 2. Each will receive the mark of deliverance or the mark of the beast. The Lord is doing his work. All heaven is astir. The judge of all the earth is soon to arise and vindicate his insulted authority. The mark of deliverance will be set upon the men who keep God's commandments, who revere the law, and who refuse the mark of the beast or of his image. Found in Testimonies, Volume 5, page 451, paragraph 3 to 4. One class will receive the mark, the other will receive the seal. The Sabbath will be the great test of loyalty, for it is a point of truth, especially controverted. When the final test shall be brought to bear upon men, then the line of distinction will be drawn between those who serve God and those who serve him not. While the observance of the 4th Sabbath, in compliance with the law of the state, contrary to the 4th commandment, will be an avowal of allegiance to a power that is in opposition to God, the keeping of the true Sabbath, in obedience to God's law, is an evidence of loyalty to the Creator. While one class, by accepting the sign of submission to earthly powers, receive the mark of the beast, the other, choosing the token of allegiance to divine authority, receive the seal of God. Great Controversy, page 605, paragraph 2. They are totally different identifying labels. They are two separate marks of opposing authority. The sign or seal of God is revealed in the observance of the 7th day Sabbath, the Lord's memorial of creation. The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbath ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. Found in Exodus chapter 31, verses 12 and 13. Here the Sabbath is clearly designated as a sign between God and his people. There are two roads the Bible speaks about, the broad road and the narrow road. In the broad road, we read in Matthew 7 verse 20, "For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go thereat." Also in Matthew 7 verse 14, "Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it." The broad road again, Romans chapter 1 verse 18, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness." The narrow road, 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 12, "For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers, but the face of the Lord is against them that do evil." On the broad road, Romans chapter 1 verse 23, "And change the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things." This is what happens on the broad road that we see in our world today. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 23, "Being born again, not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible, by the word of God, which liveth and abideth forever." This chapter in Matthew encourages us to walk the narrow way, the way of the cross that leads home. Here's an example of the broad way, the New World Order, the ecumenical movement, the Sunday laws. I spoke about the ecumenical movement in the previous presentation. We also know about the New World Order that's taking place in our world, and very soon we will hear about the Sunday laws. The narrow way, on the other hand, leads to New Jerusalem. It's the remnant movement that will be walking the narrow way and keeping the Sabbath of our God. Why is the Sabbath important? Remember the Sabbath day. It is living the life of Eden on the narrow way. The Sabbath and the family were alike instituted in Eden, and in God's purpose they are indissolubly linked together. On this day, more than any other, it is possible for us to live the life of Eden. Education, chapter 29. Remember the Sabbath. It was sanctified by our Creator to live a sanctified life on the narrow way. Ezekiel 20 verse 12, King James Version, "Moreover, also, I gave them my Sabbaths, to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord that sanctify them." Remember the Sabbath? It is the gospel Sabbath for living a life of worship on the narrow way. The first angel's message, Revelation 14, "And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters." Remember the Sabbath? It is our Creator's redemption for us, living a redeemed life on the narrow way. Ephesians 1 verse 7, "In whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace." Remember the Sabbath. It is in the commandments that is living a sealed life on the narrow way. The Lord commands by the same prophet, bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. Isaiah 8 verse 16. Remember the Sabbath. It is a blessed Sabbath to living a reformed, righteous life. Isaiah 56 verse 2. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keeping the Sabbath from polluting it, and keeping his hand from doing any evil. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy is living a life of holiness on the narrow way. Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 12. Moreover also I gave them my Sabbaths, to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord that sanctify them. Remember the Sabbath. It is living a life in preparation for the new earth. Isaiah 66 verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. Remember the Sabbath. It is designed by the Lord of the Sabbath to living a designed life. Exodus 20 verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Remember the Sabbath. It is living a life with God's identity. Exodus 20 verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. The Sabbath is a day of rest and worship that is important in the Abrahamic religions, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Here are some sights into the Sabbath. It is a day of balance. The Sabbath is a day of balance. The Sabbath is a day to rest from work and enjoy the results of your labor. It's a necessary counterbalance to the work you do the rest of the week. The Sabbath is a day of freedom. The Sabbath is a declaration of freedom from the slavery of overwork. It is a day to rest from the anxiety and strain of overwork, which can be an attempt to justify ourselves. The Sabbath is a day of worship. The Sabbath is a day to direct your thoughts and actions toward God. It is a sacred day to be spent in worship and reverence. The Sabbath is a day of communion. The Sabbath is a day of delightful communion with God and one another. It is a time to connect with others, delight in God and His creation, and serve others. The Sabbath is a day of remembrance. The Sabbath is a memorial of creation. It's a reminder that God is watching over us and providing for us. The Sabbath is a day of sanctification. The Sabbath is a sign of our sanctification and a foretaste of our eternal future in God's kingdom. The Sabbath is a day of covenant. The Sabbath is God's perpetual sign of his eternal covenant between him and his people. The Sabbath is a day of origins. Other days of rest, such as the Christian Sunday and the Islamic Friday, owe their origins to the Jewish Sabbath.